good opportunity for us to share with you. And I'd like to kick it off by asking Cesar Sanuda, who is the president for Microsoft in Asia Pacific, to give you a perspective on how Microsoft sees the enterprise and what's our vision for the enterprise.
Very big company, very big company. 2 hours one-on-one. It was a really interesting conversation. I was another person for years, so we had a conversation about, hey Cesar, tell me the truth, how technology can help us or not. It was not about Microsoft or go and sell me this or go and I'm going to buy you this other. Yeah, very good. I learned a lot actually in the conversation as well. So I feel very good because most of the conversation I had is my 10 and 15-minute speech that I'm going to share with you in a summary. Microsoft in the next years, how we become a better organization closer to our customers. How we can become way more digital, taking advantage of this digital work, digital life. And how can we be more responsive? And that's why probably you have seen Microsoft talking about transforming the company in this mobile-first, cloud-first world. Mobile-first is very simple. This is not your office. You're more than welcome to come. The CEO was, you can have a great company with great technology, but you don't really empower people to use it. You don't really get people to really be able to express themselves. Let me give you a real example in life. And I do this internally in the company. How many of you tweet or use Facebook, social network? How many of you use it? All of you? And as I know that you like to have numbers, I went through and shared the ones that are public that we can do.
Our businesses respond to that. So I'll start with that, and then Christian will take a little bit of time to talk about some other details. I suppose I just wanted to start with this slide, and some of you may have seen this before, and it really talks to what Cesar was saying around how does Microsoft see itself in terms of being a productivity and a platform company. So you have the key driver on how people are able to be productive in whatever they do in terms of whether they're in the office, whether they're a mobile workforce, so they're linking to the devices is a key component of that. You have then a platform and how do businesses operate today within the track in a short period of time is almost condensing what a normal organisation would do in the space of 2, 3 or 5 years. So this is a great example on how an organisation has to respond to the ever-changing environment, and it was a very successful campaign. So I want to talk about a configuration system that can get the product to the consumer at the right time, at the right price. Then you have a disconnected system. So today it's a lot around configuration they want. So it's changing the way that businesses have to think about their consumer experiences. So I just wanted to touch on the new product that we actually announced yesterday, which is an extension of our CRM offering, our customer relationship offering, and this is available.
Actually, we're all in sales, and we're all here to provide amazing customer experiences. That's the way I like to think about it. Yeah, so we thought we would continue to build a little bit on this concept that really drives everything we do in our R&D organizations, everything we bring to market, how we build product, and how we constantly think about what our customers need to achieve with the software solutions we build. And it is really centered around delivering amazing customer experiences. You'll even see that if you go to my Twitter handle, CPMSFT, you'll see that it's one of these things that I call out that I'm super passionate about, because when you go for the next many years, right? If you want to change it, you're bringing an army of consultants and then they work on it for several months and then you can change the business process. But with the constantly and very, very rapidly changing environments that customers are under today, they need to constantly evolve their business process. They need to respond to what happens in the marketplace. And that's why they need to be able to change these interesting scenarios that most enterprise IT organizations go through. So most organizations, they run an environment just to do proof of concepts and demos and stuff like that. Well, customers can now choose to just run that in the Azure cloud. They don't need to have infrastructure and algorithm and you adopt it. But it's different in an enterprise environment, where an organization, they have their own internal apps. So for instance, one of the apps that we run inside of Microsoft, we run an expense management app. And I get access to that expense management app by going to Microsoft's private marketplace.
No one in the industry can offer those combination, and it's the same solution that you're running in the cloud that you run on-premise or you run in a hybrid environment. So there's some key differentiators. The fact that we have the ability to provide solutions that rapidly develop and change based on your changing business requirements. You know, the business world, the consumer world is moving so quickly that you have to have business systems that can evolve. The way you did business 10 years ago is not the same way that you do business today. So the ability to change that and rapidly transform your organisation, with the ability to rapidly transform your business solutions to support that change, is really a key requirement for any business today.
Social presence, is it a positive presence? Is it a negative presence? How do people talk about these different things? So what the team did here is they took a period from the 26th of August to the 17th of September and looked at media across Twitter, Facebook, and
19 races this year all around the world. Back in the UK, back in the factory in the UK, we're actually 470 strong people. It puts us probably somewhere in the middle of the 11 teams in F1, which probably Mercedes, I think, are the biggest with nearly over 1,000 people now. And then we're somewhere in the middle with 470. So it's those four.
So it's an area where teams spending vast amounts of money and time. We have a CFD facility, so a computational fluid dynamics facility, where we do large-scale supercomputing, number crunching, iterative-based aerodynamic development, so shapes and surfaces of the car. Once these guys get to a position where they're fairly happy with a solution or with an idea, they'll pass it to their colleagues in the aero department, who will actually turn it into something they can make. We'll make it as a then 60% scale model. Once we tested there, if the results look good, we'll hand it over to the actual design team to turn it into something that can be manufactured. And we'll go through the design process, design release into production, then into manufacturing. Once we've manufactured it, we'll inspect it for regulation, we'll check to make sure it adheres to all the rules, we'll check it for quality based on our initial drawings. And then we'll eventually get it onto the car, at the track side. Actually, that process we just talked about, we do on a 2-weekly basis. So the cycle that we use to bring updates to the car, exactly what I just described, is done on a 2-weekly basis.
and that's really core to the partnership we have, because
Made and done and then shipped obviously from the UK to wherever the race is.
So Matthew, I know you manage a significant budget. I know you don't want to probably share the number, but it's a significant amount of money. How do you determine where to invest the money? Because that can be so many different things you could do.
I mean, ultimately I'm guided by the technical director who looks after the car, but you know, the use of Dynamics has helped us with that, because it's helped us to be able to price certain elements. Going back maybe 2 or even 3 years ago, it would be hard to work out whether or not it was cost effective to continue production on a new rear wing or a new front wing. Whereas now we can look at the process from start to finish, and we can work out, okay, if this is going to save us a tenth of a second.
We also obviously use Azure for cloud-based services too. Really around the kind of mobile devices, I'm trying to Surface Pro 3 at the moment, where they can be using it potentially as a longer-term device to enable collaboration between our team here at the trackside and back at the factory. We're also using mobile devices. You can probably see the 3+ app over there with that.
In the scientific world of learning the mind, who did the research, like champions like Richard Jackson, Nelson Mandela. So to just find out why they are champions. So this is where the core, and he coined the word called champion mindset. So we adopt that into our curriculum.
You then try to add something that's fairly well established in terms of business and process, and you try and turn it on its head overnight, yet continue to operate the business day to day, and completely transform, so re-engineer everything you do from bottom to top and top to bottom. It's a tough journey, a very, very, very tough journey. So the reason we entered into the partnership, and the reason the Microsoft partnership was unique, was because we had the skills and the professionalism of Microsoft resources on site, the expertise, the product engineering group who were there, they lived and breathed the product. They know the nuances of the product. They know how to maximise the return from the product and optimise and set up and configure it in the best possible way. So the value of having those resources on site.
That I think is a challenge for a lot of. So you go into the banking environment, you go into a government environment where cloud is not an option because of regulations. So we have the ability to offer both cloud environment, in a private cloud, in a public cloud, or a hybrid. So part of your business may run in a in the cloud environment, and part of your business may run on-premise, and it's the same solution. So we have a key differentiator in the ability to offer that which our competitors don't have. We see a key differentiator in terms of the usability of the product and the integration to the other Microsoft tools. So a lot of people in business use Excel, a lot of people use Word or use other tools from Microsoft, business intelligence. How do you have a seamless integration between our CRM offering and those tools? And we talked before around tools like Yammer that we've acquired for internal collaboration. We talked about these tools around social and sentiment analysis. We have a unique differentiation in terms of how we leverage the productivity suite from Microsoft more broadly. So I think those are two of the key areas, and probably the third area is return on investment and value, total cost of ownership. You saw the figures I showed up there. The figures of $80 per user per month for CRM Online or Office 365 and Power BI is probably at least half the cost of any of the competitors that we have today. So organisations today, whether you're large organisations, whether a Lotus team or whether you're a smaller organisation, everyone is cost conscious today and needs to make sure they're going to get the best value for that dollar. So we get a lot of feedback on our differentiation from the total cost of ownership and the return on investment that our customers are seeing with the solution. So those are the three broad areas.
But making use of that, so basically leveraging the insight from that data is key. I think one of my biggest challenges from an IT department perspective is to align with the business, to make sure that we're delivering what the business requires on their terms, in their language, and most importantly to their time frames. We've talked about the time frames we use, the life cycle we use here for development of the car. It was very, very aggressive. Trying to adapt to a group of 35 people who are split in two, so one half of the group kind of keep the lights on, they run the operations and infrastructure, the other group innovate, they're creating applications. Trying to get a cadence of releasing updates on a 2-weekly basis to bring the kind of back-end IT performance improvements that the engineers use here at the track is quite a challenge.
I mean, it's hard to get across how much pressure there is really on the IT guys as well, because the guys who are at the coalface, if you like, the guys that sit on the pit wall and make the decisions, they're not interested whether or not there's a glitch, there's a reason why that's not worked out. I mean, if we run hundreds and hundreds of race simulations before each race to try and work out, and they change, there's a direct link back to the factory from every race, and there's guys who sit back at the factory during the race and are changing the model constantly. So depending on where the other teams are, depending on what the weather conditions are, depending on the track temperatures, that'll determine as to when we pit the car, when we don't pit the car, where it comes out in relation to other cars. If something goes wrong and we make a split second, I can spend 10, 15 million to save half a second. If we miss a call for a pit stop, it can cost us 5 seconds. And the guys that are sitting there on the coalface, they're not interested. They just want, I need that decision now. And that's what the IT guys have to do.
We are a technology company.
Technology company.
Technology.
Basic question, how much?
In the last few days, because they are public. So our budget for the year is going to be around about £135 million.
135 million.
So, in terms of what we actually create is 2 cars, or 1 car, 2 versions of 1 car. So, I mean, it's hard to put a figure on exactly how much the car costs.
Oh yeah.
I try and do it if we crash, so I can look and say that. But yeah, it's hard to do that. We normally produce 5 chassis, so the central section. But then as we've said all the way along, I mean the number of front wings, rear wings, floor, side pods, they change constantly. So we'll go through maybe 20, 30, 40 different versions.